There's a question, and your answer to this question will determine the rest of your life. What is the question, you ask? The question is, who do you think you are? Not who are you, who do you think you are? It's a much more interesting question. See, I've been trying to answer this question very religiously for the past few years or so. It all started way back in summer of freshman year after college. After my first freshman year of college, came back to Hawaii. It's like, all right, Ryan, who are you? What do you want? What are you trying to get out of your life? What do you value? Who are you, right? And I started doing all this journaling and reading and meditation and self-reflection and really intense, just trying to figure out, looking back into my past, what did I used to do when I was a kid, all this kind of stuff. And I learned a lot, I took a lot of personality tests and I learned about my certain tendencies. But the issue with all of this, the main issue, well, there's a few issues. Number one, I tried to categorize myself. Now, this is a major gripe I have with personality tests in general. Personality tests, by definition, are categorizing you into a specific kind of person. And usually, if you score a certain kind of personality, you'll be reading through the whole thing, and it'll just be like telling you, basically, who you are. It's like, here, this is who you are. And I was just reading through all these. I'm like, no, that's not me. But I had this desire to convince myself that it was me because I wanted a neat little picture of who I was. I wanted to know, right? I wanted certainty. We hate uncertainty. Humans in general, people. We love to know for certain if something is true or if it is false, or if we are X or we are Y. For me, I had a lot of conflicting points all across different personalities. I would get different ones depending on different days and different weeks and months. I would go back and forth, bouncing all over the place. And this was annoying to me, but it shouldn't be. That it should be that way, at least at this point in our lives, that we're still forming our personalities so much. And that got me thinking, okay, there's another issue with trying to know yourself when you're 20, 21, and using these methods of answering personality tests, looking back on your past. And that is that they are, by definition, who you've become without probably a whole lot of actual intention by you to become that person. Instead of the personality test asking us, how would we behave in a certain situation, or what did we used to do when we were a kid, or all this past-based stuff, historical questions, why doesn't it ask us who we'd like to be? How would we like to behave in this situation? Who would we like to become? What would we like to do? I think that's a much better approach. Granted, there are some flaws. If you think that you want to become something, but you don't actually genuinely want to become that, there's a whole host of issues that could pop up there. I'm not going to deny that. But I have a major gripe with the fact that we're referencing what we should do in the future. We're planning what we should do in the future based on what we've done in the past and who we've become, just mainly by chance, right? Like, how much did you really decide to become the person that you are today? How much of it was really your decision? Like, mentally, I'm going to become this person. Versus how much of it was it just circumstance, environment, where you grew up, where you went to school, what your parents told you to do, right? What your society, what the people around you, what your friends did. Like, there's so much that's not under our control. And I think that this is actually a much better approach, is to actually say, okay, let's ignore for a second who I've become by chance. Let's try to eliminate all of the factors that are influencing me without me actually intentionally deciding to let them influence who I am. Let's just cut all that out. Let's try to start from a blank slate. Let's go back to zero. What do I want right now? With nothing else, I don't have any identities about what kind of person I am, what I like, what I don't like. All this stuff that has categorized me and boxed me in and cut off certain options and opened up other ones. Ignore all that crap. Just say, all right, blank slate. What would I do today if I had absolutely no obligations, no past hobbies, no previous interests, no projects to do, no homework, no job? What would you do? I would argue that's a much better indicator of what kind of person you are, or what kind of person you're interested in becoming, which is ultimately more important, than referencing a bunch of your past historical, behavior and interests that probably arise mainly just by chance, right? Seems to me to make sense. So my main point with all this is that we need to be very careful about what kind of identity that we have around ourselves. Now, identity is very useful. Ego, identity, all this idea of who you are and who you are not. That can be useful. But I would argue that at our stage, I'm assuming people watching this are my age-ish, 21, 20s, early 20s, it's very, very important to still be open in your identity, because identity acts as a filter for your actions and your behavior. If you think that you can do something or you can't do something because you are or you are not a specific kind of person, that will dictate what you do and don't do, right? If I think that, this is just an example that comes to mind, I meditate frequently, right? A lot of people, when they hear that, or when we talk about meditation, they say, oh, I'm just not that kind of person. I just can't sit down. Like if I sit down for 5 minutes, my mind starts going all over the place, and I'm not that kind of person. I'm not the kind of person who meditates. That is an identity. That is a belief they have about themselves, that they are X and they are not Y. And that therefore prevents them from ever becoming X, because they already have cut off the option for themselves to become it in their identity. Before they even had a chance to sit down and try, they probably just said, nope, not me, right? So identity is a filter for everything in our lives. It determines what we do, what we don't do, who we become and who we don't become, what kind of friends we make, who we associate with. Everything in our lives is based on this idea that we have about ourselves and who we are. So at a young age, when we're still trying to figure out what the hell to do, and I would argue that probably everyone, no matter how old you are, is trying to figure out what to do and trying to figure this life thing out. But especially at a young age, you don't know. I don't know what I want. Maybe you do know what you want. And in that case, great for you. Just make sure that you're the one that actually decided that's what you want, not someone else. Anyways, I don't really know what I want. And that's the journey that I've been on, right? Is this self-exploration, this reflection, all this stuff. Make sure that you're holding your identity loosely. I really started holding on very tightly. I wanted that certainty. I wanted to know this is what I am and this is what I am not, so that I had some sort of certainty and a direction in life, right? We want to feel like we're going somewhere good. We want to feel good about where we're going, and that wherever we're going, we're going to be successful at it, right? So we have this desire for certainty, and we start cutting off other options. Obviously, this can be good to focus on one thing, but at an early stage, make sure that's the right thing. Make sure, like I said earlier, it's not just what chance has kind of thrown you into, what your environment has thrown you into, what your social surroundings have thrown you into. Try to go back to that blank slate. Try to recreate that, just starting from zero. What would you do today if you were starting from zero? That's going to tell you a lot more about where you should go in the future than the momentum that you already have, right? It's the sunk cost fallacy. Oh, I've already gone this far. I might as well just keep going, because if I stop now, look at all the time I wasted. At our age especially, that's a really dumb idea. Because all things considered, we have not spent that much time on any path that we're going down. And the next 30 to 40 years is a much longer time to be committed to the wrong path than a few years that you may have spent studying something in school, or just thought that you're going to become something, right? Think that you're going to become a lawyer. Maybe you realize you don't want to become a lawyer, but you've already put a few years into it and you're already in law school, so I might as well just finish it. And then you become a lawyer for 20, 30 years, you hate life, and then that's a bad path. We're not going to go down what might happen there. Anyways, my point is, there's a certain quote that I really like that I came up when I was thinking about this. And it is from Lao Tzu, of course, Tao Te Ching, Taoism. It's a philosophy, Chinese philosophy. And the quote goes, if I let go of what I am, or who I am, I become what I might be. And that's really talking about this whole idea of identity. It's if you let go of who you are, who you think you are, this idea that you have about who you are, what you do and what you don't do, you actually become what you might be. Maybe you freaking love pole dancing and you're just like, hell yeah, I'm gonna go work that pole, baby. And next thing you know, you become the world's most famous pole dancer, but before you'd never even tried it. or had no idea, or just thought that only strippers do that, and it turns out it's like a whole big thing. I went pole dancing for the first time last weekend. That's why that's a thing in my mind, because I never thought I would. It was kind of fun. No, I'm not gay. No, I'm not a stripper. No, I'm not gonna become a prostitute or whatever. Like, I don't know. It's actually a pretty good workout, not gonna lie. My shoulders were kind of burning. Anyways, back to Lao Tzu. Maybe Lao Tzu was a pole dancer. That'd be fun. We're all over the place. I think this video is slightly more structured. The point is, try the blank slate. I think that's like the most effective way. Try to just like do a thought exercise. Say, if nothing, if I had no obligations, no responsibilities, if I had no momentum in any certain direction in my life, what would I choose to do? Where would I go? How would I spend my time? That'll tell you a lot more about who you are and who you want to become than looking back at your past, doing all sorts of personality tests, all this stuff. All right, cool. That's video number 3. We're on a roll. I'm considering just pumping these out like once a day. That would make it a lot more of a routine for me, but we'll see. Thank you so much for watching. I guess I'll do the YouTube thing. Like, comment, subscribe, but don't turn on notifications. Turn off all your notifications. I'm going to say this like every single time. Notifications will ruin your life. Thank me later. All right. See you next time, everyone. Thank you, and take care. Bye-bye.